Hey guys, I have another card for you today. First, I took a piece of watercolor paper and I'm going to paint on some roses. I'm using my Van Gogh watercolor palette and I'm using the color quinacridone rose to paint on the roses. And I'm using a round paintbrush because I am starting out my line using not much pressure, then I'm putting a lot of pressure on there and then ending it with not much pressure so that I get those sort of lines that start and end with a point and that are thick in the middle. So you do really need a paintbrush that is round for this painting basically. And I'm just painting a couple of roses on my card panel. I am darkening it as I go in some places where there wasn't enough ink, enough paint in my paintbrush, so that because there was a bit too much water or something. And then I painted 4 of the big roses that are mostly all on the paper, and then 2 small ones to just give it the illusion as if they were also still there. And then I am painting in some leaves. I am using sap green, and because I thought it was a bit too dark, I added in a bit of the permanent lemon yellow. And then again, I am using the same technique with applying not so much pressure, a lot of pressure, and again, not so much pressure to make these leaf shapes. And then to make these a bit darker, I added some Viridian color to the already mixed green mixture that I made, and just to darken it up. And then I put some on the ends of my leaves to darken them up. Then once again, I'm going to use my heat gun to dry it completely before I move on to the next step. So making sure it's all nice and dry. And then I'm going to use again my paintbrush that I wet with just plain water, and I'm going over these roses because I didn't like the white space that was in between the petals. And then I am going to dry it with my heat gun. Because I used the watercolor sort of reacted with it and I reactivated it. And that's why the inside of the flowers now is light pink. Because I used a bit too much water on some of the flowers, I'm going to paint in some of these petals again because they sort of got lost because of all the water. And then I'm drying it. I'm making sure that it's really, really dry because the next step is heat embossing. And I use the Winnie and Walter, the Big, the Bold, and the Happy stamp set. And then I put some of my powder tool from EK Success on my paper to make sure that all the static is gone. And then I used my Versamark ink pad to stamp the sentiment, which is Happy Birthday. And then I added some gold embossing powder. I'm going to heat set this, and I made sure that before I went to the paper with my heat gun was nice and hot. And as you can see, my card panel is basically done. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape. I'm not using liquid glue for this because I want it to stay nice and flat because it did buckle a bit by all the watercoloring. And then I'm going to adhere it to a top folding white card base. The card base was a bit too big, so I trimmed off a little bit off of the sides. And just like that, my card is done. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Bye!